Call to order, Bedford Township Planning Commission regular meeting, September 26, 2018. Please all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Stephanie, if you could take the roll call.
Yes. Mr. Frederick.
Present.
Mr. Zybeck.
Here.
Mr. Jenkins.
Here.
Garvick is excused. Stefan is present. Mr. Fritz.
Here.
Chairman Anger.
Here. Next, if you have a chance to look at the agenda, I will entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Support.
Take the roll call.
Mr. Jenkins.
Yes.
Stefan votes yes. Mr. Frederick.
Aye.
Mr. Zybeck.
Aye.
Mr. Fritz.
Yes.
Chairman Anger.
Yes. Agenda is approved. And next, we will move on to the approval of the minutes of the September 12th meeting for anybody that was here. They can-
Mr. Chairman, I move approval of the minutes of September 12, 2018, and waive the reading thereof.
Support.
And if you could take a roll call, Mr. Stein.
Mr. Frederick.
Aye.
Stefan votes yes. Mr. Zybeck.
Yes.
Mr. Jenkins.
Yes.
Mr. Fritz.
Yes.
Chairman Anger.
Yes. Next, we'll move to public comment. This is, since we have two open public hearings today, this will be for anybody who would like to speak on something that's not on the agenda. So if you're here for something that's on the agenda, if you could just wait for the public hearing for that. So if there's anybody at this time that would like to speak on something else, please, now's the time. Seeing that there is none, we will move on to new business. First is open to the public hearing regarding the request of Oak Creek Holdings LLC for approval of a preliminary planned unit development plan for a 145-unit condominium project on parcel number 5802-022-06513, 5802-022-05300, and 5802-022-05200, located on Jackman Road between Dean and Temperance Roads.
Move to open the public hearing.
Support.
If you could just take a roll call.
Mr. Frederick.
Aye.
Mr. Zybeck.
Aye.
Mr. Jenkins.
Aye.
Stefan votes yes. Mr. Fritz.
Yes.
Chairman Anger.
Yes. All right. If there's anybody that would like to come up and speak at this time about the public hearing for the subdivision. Oh, I'm sorry, Jody, if you would like to jump in ahead of the game here. Thank you.
Again, the applicant is Oak Creek Holdings. Contact is Dave Schmidt. Approximately 45.25 acres on a vacant parcel located north of the existing Brookwood Villas, north of Dean Road, east of Jackman Road, and two parcels located on the east side of Jackman Road. Two of the subject parcels are currently R3, single-family residentially zoned, where the larger parcel, approximately 45.26 acres, is located north of the existing Brookwood Villas, and a parcel, approximately 3.48 acres, is located on Jackman Road and is further known as 8530 Jackman Road. A third parcel, approximately 2.5 acres, otherwise known as 8515 Jackman Road, is currently R2A, single-family residential, and will be moving through the rezoning process to request a rezoning to R3, single-family residential, at a later date. This property was not rezoned to R3 at the same time as the previously two mentioned properties, as the property was purchased at a later date. The PUD consists of 145 detached units to be developed in 4 phases. Phase 1 consisting of 33 units, Phase 2 33 units, Phase 3 of 23 units, and Phase 4 of 56 units. The project will have an entrance off Jackman Road and will connect to the existing Brookwood Villa subdivision through the south through Foxmoor Lane. It should be noted construction traffic will be routed through an entrance off Jackman Road and posted no construction traffic off Dean Road through the existing Brookwood Villas and Village at Oak Creek subdivisions. While the township can request up to a 100-foot setback for PUD developments, the developers are requesting, and it has been in the practice in the past, and that the setback be relaxed when a residential PUD is adjacent to a residential zoning district. The developer is proposing a 35-foot rear yard perimeter setback as it is standard for a residential zoning district, and a 40-foot perimeter setback along the north side of the entrance off Jackman Road. Sidewalks are proposed in front of the exterior units within the project and extend to Jackman Road along the south side of North River Drive. The properties surrounding the proposed project are either R2A, R2B, or R3 single-family residential zoning. The master plan designates this area as suburban residential, which includes R1, R2, and R3 zoning districts. Municipal water and sanitary sewer service will be available to the site. The roads are private and will be designed to build to Monroe County Road Commission standards of 27 feet back-to-back curb and gutter. All storm drainage is private and will be designed and built to public standards. Any preliminary approval shall be contingent upon addressing all issues of the Monroe County Drain Commission, Monroe County Road Commission, Manigan Smith Group, and the Fire Department review letters. Prior to any final PUD consideration, all flood zone and MDEQ requirements must be addressed. The applicant shall prepare a PUD agreement, and all necessary condominium documents shall be submitted and approved by the township attorney. The special assessment district for street lighting shall be entered into between the township and the developer, and a landscaping and buffering plan shall be submitted. It should be noted that a condominium association shall be established.
Thank you, Jody. Is there a representative for, thank you. If you could state your name and address for us.
Yep. My name is David Schmidt, and my address is 5135 Main Street in Sylvania, Ohio, and I'm one of the partners in Oak Creek Developers.
Thank you.
So yeah, basically, this is pretty much just a continuation of the Brookwood subdivision that we started 3 or 4 years ago and are pretty much running out of lots. We elected this time to go the site condominium route as opposed to platted lots, just because of the length of time and difficulty it was in getting the lots platted. So that's what everyone seems to be doing, is the site condominiums, and seems to work better. But the houses and the space between them and the price range and pretty much everything that we plan on doing is the same as what we've done in Brookwood. If you've seen that, I guess you're pretty familiar with then what it is. So yeah, as was pointed out by Jody, it'll be done in 4 phases. We do have an entrance coming off of Jackman there, and we have worked for the last 3-4 months with Road Commission and the Township, and come to an agreement with them that we'll run all the construction traffic off of Jackman Road, and put a construction entrance in there, so shouldn't be any traffic issues. I guess that's really about all I've got. It's pretty much just a continuation of what we've been doing.
Perfect, thank you. Now I will open it up to anyone else that would like to speak in the public comment. And if you could just state your name and address for the record.
My name is Mike Miller, live at 8363 Twin Creek Circle in the Brookwood subdivision.
Thank you.
I'm representing the Brookwood subdivision, instead of having each of them come up and speak. And our homes are south of the planned subdivision that Dave just described, and will be connected by a street, as Jody said, into that subdivision. When we purchased our homes, we were told, or some of us was at least, that Dave did plan to open a subdivision north of us. It wasn't described as a PUD, but would be basically the same as what we have now in Oak Brook, with the homes and the streets and all that. And from what he said, that's going to take place. We have several concerns. One which is drainage. Right now, we have a collection pond. It's basically on Dean Road that collects water from Brookwood and from the village of Oak Creek. And when it rains, like it did last night, that pond fills up completely. A couple of weeks ago, when we had that real heavy rain, it backed up so far that the water came back up through the storm sewers into the street. So our concern on the drainage is that none of the water from his proposed village, new PUD, is connected to our storm sewers, because our pond just can't handle it. And if you dump more water into that pond, we're going to have some major issues with, with flooding of the streets. So that's our first concern, is that the water from the new subdivision is directed away from us, and even on the back line of the property, we're concerned about. We also are concerned about the traffic. You're adding 145 homes, I think it is, and basically today everybody has 2 cars. And the traffic on Jackman Road in the mornings and the evenings with the high school, the junior high, the library, and Jackman Elementary, I don't know if any of you have tried to drive around that area in the morning and the afternoon. It's almost impossible. So we're concerned that we're going to have some real issues with traffic in that area. So I don't know, I know that's not your bailiwick, that's the road commission for traffic, but we just wanted to get our concern on the books. Also, viewing the plan, there's going to be a 35-foot grass area from what I can see on the drawing between the new subdivision and the current Brookwood. And the people in Brookwood would like to see some kind of a barrier between the two, like trees or a dirt berm, maybe a fence to separate the two. And that's not in the plan, but that's what we would, we're looking at trying to get done. We're also concerned about the size and the prices of the homes to make sure that these homes are equal or better than the ones that we currently have in our subdivision, and that the prices are basically the same, or I assume they'll probably be higher with the cost of construction going up. But, we don't want homes of lesser value to come in there, because that's going to destroy our property values. And if the current plan is approved, it's going to be very difficult to change it once you get it approved. And we wanted to get our concerns on the book so that we can, have our concerns addressed, because, no offense to Dave, Dave's here to make money. And we're looking at making sure that our community can sustain what he's putting out, traffic, and all the other things that go along with the new homes. So we're concerned about the after effect. When all the homes are in, you're going to have 150 homes. That's probably additional 300 cars. And like I said, the traffic in our area is pretty bad already. And the construction traffic he addressed with the issue. So hopefully we won't have any issues with trucks trying to cut through, because our roads are already starting to crack from all the truck traffic coming in now. There's several places where there's cracks in the blacktop already. So we don't want all of their construction coming through our neighborhood. And that's about what I have to address.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody else that would like to come up and speak at this time? If you could just state your name and address for the record.
Sure. Mark Laberty. I live at 8560 Jackman Road. My fiance and I bought that house in November, December of last year, and the previous owners never made it aware to us when we purchased the home that any of this was going to happen. They did state that there was going to be a development going in behind us, and we have woods and stuff behind our property, but never that there was going to be a road through to Jackman Road. The house that sits right next door to us to the south is going to be tore down, and the one south of that will be tore down. That's where the road will be built. And so right next to our property, the backs of these, condominiums is what we'll see now. Like the previous gentleman said, my fiance and I we're concerned with traffic too, with the kids in school, because like every morning during the school year, for me pulling out of the driveway to go to work, I don't start work at 8 o'clock, but I have to leave about 7 o'clock just so I can beat some of the bus traffic and all that, you know, just to get there. And like he said, you know, there's gonna be all these other houses and residents and more traffic. And I don't know if, I can understand their dilemma with the construction equipment, everything going through their subdivision, all that, but I don't know if it's right and fair to have it all going right next door to us either. You know, we're concerned about drainage too, you know, if it's all gonna affect our yard now. And if, you know, our foundation or whatever with the construction and everything else. During the summer, dirt, dust, everything else, you know. Might have to keep my windows closed 24/7 because you know, all that. The thing that surprises me is that the township, you know, when somebody has the cash, they can just go buy 2 houses and say, okay, I'm gonna tear them down and put a road through here. I mean, that bothers me that the township lets that happen. I just don't quite understand that. You know, I don't know, Temperance Road Elementary, is that closed now? Is that being used by the school at all? Why not build a road through there and go to Temperance Road, you know? So, but that's my fiance and I, that's our concern, so.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to come up for the public hearing? If you would like to, you can come and address him.
So yeah, just a few comments, I guess, to address, you know, some of their concerns, which are legitimate concerns, I'm sure. You know, as far as the drainage goes, the site will all be engineered. There will not be any drainage going through the Brookwood or Oak Creek subdivision. You know, all the drainage for the site will be on the site itself. And there'll be, there's 2 or 3 fairly large ponds that, you know, will be like retention ponds that'll hold the drainage. So I guess to address their drainage concerns, obviously it has to be engineered, you know, and the plans have to be approved by the township's, you know, engineering firm and the road commission, the drain commission, and they're pretty strict on what they allow drainage-wise. But just to reiterate, there won't be any drainage at all from the new subdivision that goes through their drainage system. It'll all be independent. You know, as far as the traffic goes, I mean, yeah, it's zoned R3 now, so, I mean, if we develop it as it is, it's still gonna be pretty much the same number of lots. You know, whether it's developed under its existing zoning as R3 or whether it's a PUD, that really doesn't change, I guess, the number of homes that would be in there. But what I will say is, unlike a single-family home where, you know, everybody gets up kind of at the same time in the morning and goes to work and drops the kids off and comes home at the same time at night, you know, that creates bottlenecks, you know, time periods where there's bottlenecks in the traffic. You know, most of our residents are retired, not all of them, but most of them are retired. They're not on a rigid schedule like that. So I think it spreads the traffic out more during the day. You know, they're not getting up in the morning, you know, all of them to go to work at the same time or drop kids off at school. So as far as the traffic goes, I think you're way better off with this type of subdivision, you know, being villas and retirees and you know, the type of people we have in our subdivision than you would a single-family subdivision. Obviously, at some point in a single-family subdivision, a lot of the kids are driving too, and you've got actually 3-4 cars maybe per household. I don't have anything with me, but I mean, we've got studies that show that, you know, these type of communities that are generally over 50 generate a lot less traffic than a typical single-family subdivision. Other than that, I guess, I mean, all I can say is, I mean, I met with Mr. Laberty and his fiance, and we've kind of given him a little bit of extra buffer between, you know, his yard and the subdivision. Instead of 35 feet, I think we did 40 feet there. And I told him that we would try and keep as many of the existing trees as possible, and we would also add some screening for him. The back part of the property there is pretty well wooded, so it's really just the front part that, you know, I guess would be more of an issue for him. But, you know, we met with him, and, you know, I thought, you know, pretty much he was okay with what we were doing. I mean, nobody likes to have a road probably put in next to him or houses next to him when you have an open field, but, you know, I guess that's development, you know, so. I guess, any other questions that you had for me? Sure.
Can you come up to the podium now?
state your name and
My name's Vicki Miller, and I'm also at 8363 Twin Creek in Brookwood. You're giving Mr. Laverty additional footage behind his house, then...
5 feet instead of 35.
I understand. And if I'm understanding Jody correctly, many places have 100 feet?
The setback for residential in a rear yard is 35 feet.
Okay, so what was the 100 feet you were talking about?
I was stating that when you came in, that your home would have a 35-foot setback to your minimally a 35-foot setback from your property line, and that home would have, that building envelope would have a 35-foot yard setback. But depending on where your home was located on your site would depend on how much.
Could be
And you
more,
had
too.
that corner lot,
Okay.
so it probably had more than 100
Okay,
feet.
thank you.
Mhm.
Well, then, I would like to request that the people in Brookwood have that same viability to have that 40-foot setback instead of the 35. If it's already been agreed to in one area, then I don't see any reason why, for one home, I don't see any reason why all the people that live on Twin Creek Circle shouldn't have that same availability to have that 40 feet. And I just have one other question, then I'm going to sit down. Could you address the wetlands? Because we've been told you want to move the wetlands, and I don't understand how that can be done. And then I'll sit down and let you address that.
So, yeah, we're working with the DEQ. There's a couple of real small isolated wetlands on the site, which I'm not sure if you're familiar with them, but like an isolated wetland is the lowest grade wetland there is. And it's pretty typical to be able to either move those or replace them in a different area. So to answer your question, I guess what you do is if you've got a 200 by 100 foot area that's a wetland, and you develop that, then you have to take another area on the site or off the site and create a wetland there, wetland habitat. So that's what we're doing. And honestly, I probably would have been here 6 months earlier if I wasn't working with the DEQ on that. We're still working with them, but it looks like we're in agreement. I don't know how long the process is going to take to get their final approval, but it looks like, they're on board with it and everything. It's not that big of a deal. It's pretty much done all the time. So that's how you do the wetland issue.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
If you like to speak for the public comment, you can come up to the podium.
My name's Kim, 1411 Sequoia. I'm north of your piece of property, and I'm right just north of that piece of wetlands you're talking about. So you're getting the okay to move that wetlands, that little piece?
I don't know which piece.
Just north of the gas line.
No, that's actually going to remain wetlands.
That's going to stay wetlands, that little
Actually,
corner?
Not all of that is wetlands, so we're actually adding wetlands to that. So, yeah, that will all remain wetlands.
That little corner.
Probably, yeah,
If we-
that little corner is probably right now.
We need to keep the public comment directed towards us and not towards the audience, sorry.
So you're going to keep that little corner wetlands, that northeast corner on his property is going to stay wetlands?
That's what we're understanding.
Okay, that's what I needed to know, and that's north of the gas line. Okay.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to speak in the comment?
Gene Stock, 8322 Brookwood. I haven't been there that long. I almost went to my old address. And I know Mr. Miller brought up the concern, and Dave didn't address that, and maybe I'm being selfish here because I live, my lot backs up to where these new lots will be. And to be honest with you, I propose that might bring that up about some type of a permanent buffer, whether it be a fence, tree line, something else, so that, when we bought those lots, and I realized some people in Brookwood knew that they were going to have houses behind them that they were going to be looking at. Well, when we bought ours, and we have a very nice lot, a lot of nice woods behind us, and we'd like to keep that there too. And I know there are other people here also who back up to that have that same concern as we do. So I hope Dave would give that some consideration when he fills out this plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? If there's no one else, I will entertain a motion to close the public hearing. That we, it's only one time for the,
Hi, I'm Lisa Spots. I live at 8560 Jackman Road as well. The only concern that I have, I work for a school district, Rossford School District in Toledo and Rossford, and I'm concerned about all these single, what are they, residential, what have you, villas and condos, and no disrespect to our senior citizens by any means, but when it comes to the school system and taxpayer dollars, my concern of when we're building these subdivisions like this, that we are not getting a lot of support for our schools when it comes to voting for levies. And I get it because you're on fixed incomes, but I just feel that maybe all these subdivisions that we're putting in, maybe we're hindering our schools and supporting our schools by doing so as well, when they're actually not single-family residential homes, when we're building all these condos. And that's a big concern, especially because our schools are a community. So that's a big concern that I have, what we're doing around here in our township. So, thank you.
thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to make a comment? If not, I will entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Support.
You can take a roll call, please.
Mr. Jenkins.
Yes.
Stefan votes yes. Mr. Zimbeck.
Yes.
Mr. Fritz.
Yes.
Mr. Frederick.
Aye.
Chairman Anger.
Yes. Motion approved. Sorry. If there's any discussion amongst the board, and we are one member short, it still requires a full board, or a majority of 4 votes for this to be approved or denied. Would you like to continue? Yes. The applicant said yes, for the record.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question on the, probably the only river in Bedford Township. How are you handling that? Is that going to remain an open ditch? It is, except where the road culverts are. Okay, thank you.
Dave, can you come back up to the podium if they have any questions? Thanks.
Thank you, Jody.
Go ahead.
Mr. Frederick.
I don't know, are you done, Dennis? For
Yes,
right now?
I'm sorry.
Working from west to east. First, you have relocated the North River Drain. North River Drain is a private drain.
Correct.
I know all about North River Drain because the guy wanted to build a garage over the top of it once. Not a good idea. Now, having relocated it, have you done a hydrology study to make sure that whatever you're doing with this is okay?
To answer your question, no, we have not done a hydrology study. We have done a study of the ditch and some of the hydrology. I mean, there's actually a real, complicated, I guess, hydrology study. But there again, we're working with the DEQ on that. And
Well, that and the Drain Commission, I hope, because one of the things you want to do is take all your detention ponds and throw them into the North River Drain, at least as I understand your drawing here.
so, yeah, it's engineered so that there's no more water proposed going into the drain than would normally be
Well,
going
I've
into
heard
the
that
drain
before.
now. Yeah.
I've heard that before.
Well, that's what the
That's fine.
engineers
I understand.
are doing.
I understand.
But
I have a problem with your nearly 1,000-foot construction drive, which will go from Jackman Road to Phase 1, which is what you're suggesting. The township just finished, not too long ago, I guess a remake of Jackman Road. And if you come tromping out of there with a lot of dirt during a construction process, you're gonna have complaints like no tomorrow, because you're right across from the library, all the buses. So I caution you with 1,000-foot, because it's not gonna be paved, it's gonna be a construction road.
Yeah, it'll be
And it
stone.
won't be paved until you're done with probably phase one.
Correct.
Then I would counsel you to be very careful about construction traffic. I would counsel you to not come out of there with a lot of dirt on the duals, and that you be careful trying to trash Jackman Road, and I know you already know about that from having worked on Dean Road.
Yes.
The reconstruction of the North River Drain, have you looked at and are you satisfied that the floodplain on lots 62 and 63 will not affect those two lots?
Yes.
And you did some relocation on the far east side, and so there are 2, 4, 6, 8 lots that, my question is, are you satisfied they won't be impacted? 100, 101, 7, and 8, 24, 25, 27, and 28 on the east side, where you have relocated the North River Drain.
Yes, we've
You're
looked at
satisfied with
that,
that?
and
Okay.
the elevation there will actually be raised up. The elevation of the whole site will actually be raised up, probably a foot or so, and there won't be anything in the 100-year floodplain.
You have a gas line on that east side.
We do.
Have you checked to understand the easement language on that? And the only reason I bring that up is we were surprised on Stearns Road when we were looking at a gas line and a few other lines that go through there. The easement was effectively on the entire parcel.
Yes.
That caused a lot of hiccups for people who thought they were going to do something with it.
Yes,
you
we
looked
had
at
our
that?
attorney look at that when we actually bought the property, so.
Okay, I just want to be sure.
Yeah, thank you, though, because that's, I can see that being a big problem.
And my last question essentially is, do you know or are you aware of the Oak Openings Preserve?
Yes, I've heard of that.
You've heard of it. You want to be careful, make sure that, I don't know, maybe Dennis, do you know if this is part of the Oak Openings Preserve? Because right across the street, the library right behind it and all that is part of the preserve.
It's not part of the officially recognized Oak Openings Preserve, but it very possibly could be because of the soils.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
And you might want to make sure that you cover all your bases with that.
Sure.
Because there are a significant number of people in Bedford Township who know about that. And so, I don't know the answer. All I'm saying, I'm giving you some sensitivity
Okay.
to that particular situation, because there are, when we talk about the Oak Openings Preserve, there are trees, there are vegetation, there's all kinds of stuff that these people know about. I don't know a thing about it, but I just know that behind the library, there is a lot of Oak Openings Preserve. So you might want to write that down somewhere and find out about it.
Yep, I will.
See, I got the floodplains, I got temporary construction stuff, checked the easement. Do you think you've got that covered? And lastly, and I understand the issue because I've seen lots of it, save as many trees as you can.
Yes.
And the reason I say that is, with all due respect, I've walked through existing Brookwood and Oak Creek, and there aren't a lot of trees in there.
No, I mean, it was farmland, so.
Oh, I understand that. I'm saying it's right next door to Terry.
Yeah.
So with Terry Adams, and that's all farmland too, we know that.
Yep.
But save as many as you can,
Absolutely.
only because it adds value to the lots in my view. But I also understand they get in the road of construction. They also get in the road of building.
against this.
But I would ask you if you can save as many as you can, in fact, save.
Yes.
I went in and took a look at the overview. Boy, there's a lot of them that you would be able to save if you could. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thanks. I kind of on the same premise. I was thinking, I don't know if the dimensions would work or not, but if you could make it 40 feet to make it nicer for everyone, that would be a great gesture. I don't honestly know if it would work even for your plans, but just to throw it out there as a goodwill gesture, if possible type of thing, so.
Mr. Schmidt, I know this is only a preliminary plan for this unit, but one thing that always brought up in these meetings is the buffering between, housing and things like that. Have you looked into, or what is your game plan as far as buffering between these two units?
We could do, we could do a fence if that's what they want, or we could do a row of pine trees, every 15 feet or something like that. I'm open to that between the Brookwood lots and the new subdivision. Yeah, I wouldn't have a problem with that.
Thank you.
I think that would make a lot of people much more happy.
I will commit to that. Probably not before the construction starts. Unfortunately, a lot of times we've tried doing that before and
Can you just direct?
Oh, I'm
towards-
sorry. Yeah, we've tried doing that before, and, you end up when you dig the foundations then with dirt piled up close to the trees, and it ends up killing a lot of them, so you really almost have to put them in afterwards, but let me see how much room I've got. If I can get them in beforehand, I will, but I don't want to promise something I can't deliver there.
Appreciate that.
But we will do a screening of pine trees every 12, 15 feet.
And then my last quick question would be, and I'm not holding you to it, but do we have a rough timeline on the duration of these phases, in between these phases?
I don't. If we go at the same pace we've been going at, I would say probably a plat every year and a half. Just depends on what happens here with housing and the economy and interest rates, and it's all conditioned on how fast they sell. But we've been doing probably 30 a year. So if it was 145, you'd be roughly 5 years for the 4 plats.
Thank you for that.
Mr. Frederick?
Well, one more issue that might be explained to the public, why this is called a PUD, planned unit development, rather than a standard site plan development, because we don't have a condominium ordinance, and as such, we develop all site condominiums and other condominium projects under a planned unit development. That says that they have to very critically describe how they're going forward with the particular development. And this is the preliminary stage, meaning they still got an awful lot of work to do, and it will take some effort before the final PUD is done. So I don't know, Marty, you want to explain any more of that? Then I kind of mumbled around a little bit with it, but.
A planned unit development is a development, I guess it's an alternative that developers find, at least some developers find it easier or more swift than a typical old subdivision development. It looks much like a subdivision. However, it is one parcel. It is one master or parent parcel that is encumbered by a condominium. And what is being sold to these new owners will be units, not a lot. So there will be units. They're condominium units, and they are spotted on the condominium plans as a unit. The units will be what is taxed by the township. The unit owners will be a member of the condominium association, similar to a subdivision association. The condominium association will be in charge of managing and caring and maintaining the condominium common elements. Those are the areas outside of the
unit area, looks like a postage stamp on the plans. Depending on what the fine language is in the condominium documents, the maintenance for units or outside of the units, or driveways from the drive, or bushes and shrubbery and landscaping, they can all be designated in the condominium documents as to who has responsibility for maintenance, insurance, things like that. Usually a condominium association is responsible for most of that on a wholesale basis, so that you get uniformity in your maintenance and your lawn cutting and your shrubbery and landscaping, things like that. The association will have to be collecting assessments, similar to many subdivisions. They're going to use those assessment dollars to pay for the lawn care, the landscaping, the insurance, for liability, things like that. In the common areas, every unit owner will own a percentage of the common areas as part of their unit. Everybody will have an equal percentage. If there were 100 units, everybody would have 1%, for example. So condominiums are something that came into favor within probably the last 20 years. They much do look like subdivisions. The big difference is it's private. Private roads, private sidewalks, public water, public sanitary sewer, private storm drains. When we say private, that means that it's the co-owner's responsibility to maintain, replace, rebuild roads, sidewalks, curbs. It's all their responsibility. It's not the road commission's responsibility, because in a subdivision, they are public roads. So there's a distinction there. I don't know, I could keep going on, but there's quite a difference, though they look the same. It's up to you.
Sure.
Come up to the...
My question is just that if the township finds that it's not being taken care of because it's private, what authority does the township have to go back and make them take care of whatever needs to be done, whether it be roads or curbs or sidewalks, or so that it doesn't deteriorate?
The township has no responsibility for the private infrastructure of the condominium project. That is the unit owners. Once the developer is done, it is the condominium association, the owners of the units, that are responsible for their maintenance, repairs, and replacement.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Marty.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the preliminary planned unit development plan for 145-unit condominium project on parcel numbers 5802-022-065-13, 5802-022-053-00, and 5802-022-052-00, located on Jackman Road, between Dean and Temperance Roads, subject to the following. That the approval is granted subject to Monroe County Drain Commission letter of 9/13/18, Monroe County Road Commission letter of 8/14/18, Manick and Smith Group letter of 9/20/18, and Fire Department letter of 9/18 or 8/18/18. And also subject to, 1, all flood zones and MDEQ requirements must be addressed. That the developer prepare a PUD agreement and all condo documents, and those will be submitted to the township attorney for review. 3, set up a street lighting special assessment district with the township clerk. 4, prepare and submit a landscape plan and a buffering plan. And 5, establish a condominium association, and also relaxing the 100-foot perimeter setback to allow for what's shown on the plan, subject to any minor changes. That's it.
Support.
If you could take the roll.
Mr. Jenkins.
Yes.
Stefan votes yes. Mr. Frederick.
Aye.
Mr. Zybek.
Yes.
Mr. Fritz.
Yes.
Chairman Anger.
Yes. Motion approved.
Thank you.
Next on the new business, we have open to the public hearing regarding the Patricia Braden request for a rezoning of a portion of parcel number 5802-103-00200 from R3 Single Family Residential to C3 General Commercial located on the west side of Lewis Avenue, south of Smith Road, formerly State Line Nursery, otherwise known as 6225 Lewis Avenue.
Mr. Chairman, I move to open the public hearing.
I have a motion.
Support.
Can you take the roll call, please?
Mr. Frederick.
Aye.
Stefan votes yes. Mr. Zybek.
Yes.
Mr. Jenkins.
Yes.
Mr. Fritz.
Yes.
Chairman Anger.
Yes. Hearing is open. Jody, if you could give us the lowdown?
Again, the applicant is Patricia Braden, 6225 Lewis Avenue. Current zoning, C3 General Commercial and R3 Single Family Residential.
Hold on, Jody, sorry. If there's any conversation, if you could just take it to the hallway so we can continue the meeting. Thank you. Go ahead, Jody, sorry.
The requested zoning is C3 General Commercial. It's a portion of 5802-103-00200, approximately plus or minus 2.17 acres. The existing split zone parcel, subject parcel is approximately 25.9 acres with 876.09 feet of frontage on Lewis Avenue. The request is to rezone approximately 2.17 acres of the 25.9 acres from R3 Single Family Residential to C3 General Commercial. The proposed portion is to be rezoned will be split off and attached to approximately 1.83 acre portion currently zoned C3 General Commercial with approximately 210 feet of frontage on Lewis Avenue. The existing surrounding zonings are to the east across Lewis Avenue, MHP Manufactured Home Community, to the north R3 Single Family Residential and C3 General Commercial, and to the west and south R3 Single Family Residential and the Ohio State Line. The applicant has indicated should the rezoning request be granted, the proposed 2.17 acres requested to be rezoned is currently adjacent to a portion of the subject parcel that is currently zoned C3 General Commercial with frontage on Lewis Avenue. Should the request to rezone be granted, the applicant will go through the land division process to create a separate parcel. The Planning Department requested a review for the rezoning request. Lucy Fortin from the Manikin Smith Group, the planner for Bedford Township, supplied an overall review of the subject area, and the information is included in your packet. We have included all the uses permitted in a C3. Please keep in mind that anything in a C2 and a C1 is also a permitted use or with special approval or conditions, and the master plan designation designates this site as mixed use.
Thank you, Jody. Is there someone that is representing the applicant? Oh, if you can come up. Can you come to the podium for us? If you could just state your name and address for us?
It's Patricia Braden, 6225 Lewis Avenue, Temperance, Michigan.
Thank you. Is there anything you'd like to add to what Jody said, or?
No, not really.
Okay.
I'm not used to this kind of stuff.
No, that's okay. We'll help you through it if you have any questions. If you'd like to take a seat, and then at
Okay,
the end, you can
okay.
readdress it then, and is there anyone here that would like to speak on behalf of the public hearing? If you could just state your name and address, please.
Evening. Mark Pasek of Lambertville, 3647 Wimbledon Court. I'm going to be the potential buyer of the property if the parcel split. Moving out to C3, as Jody already mentioned, that's About 45% of it is already C3.
So you're in favor of it going to C3?
Hoping.
He just put the... Is there anything else you'd like to?
That's, unless there's any other questions you might have for me at all.
None at this point.
Okay.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak on behalf of the public hearing? If not, I will entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion
Go ahead.
motion to close the public hearing.
Support.
Take a roll.
Stefan, yes. Zybek?
Yes.
Mr. Jenkins?
Yes.
Mr. Fritz?
Yes.
Mr. Frederick?
Aye.
Chairman Anger?
Yes. Motion carried. All right. I think it makes perfect sense. It's right along the adjacent C3. I know this area needs more storage units. I think that's what was planned from that area too, because they're always full. And I did the measurements as well, and these are well within the limits, so we don't have to worry about it becoming a bar or a strip club to the church and the school, so.
Sir.
Mr. Frederick?
I spent some time on the phone with Jody trying to make some sense of some of this because we have a split zone parcel. We have, in the dark ages of Bedford Township, a lot of split zone parcels that have come along. And particularly, I'm concerned mostly into the future. I don't have a problem with this particular request, other than obviously we don't have a land division in place yet, and so that will have to be taken care of, and that'll be one of the conditions. And C3, recently, the Planning Commission and the Township Board have sort of taken the position that C3 is a form of zoning that they're going to approve along Lewis Avenue. While our petitioner and the person who says this is what I'm going to do with the parcel, because to do mini warehousing you have to have C3 zoning. We recognize as a group here that notwithstanding what the proposed use could be, any use in C3, C2, and C1 could be placed in there. Well, C2 may not, because there's not 4 acres or 5 acres or whatever the number is.
Well, once it goes through the land division, it will be 4 acres.
I know that, but I'm just saying, it's setting up the way it is now. So, and that's, using a mini warehouse is, I think, a reasonable request. And if that goes forward, that's a good idea. I'm just a little bit concerned about into the future how this might be developed, because part of it is we're going to have some of these hockey stick potential divisions. And so there'll be C3 another one, C3 another one. So sometime there's going to be a problem with the far western side of this parcel. So both the Planning Commission and the Township Board going forward will have to keep watch of that and see how that goes forward. I have no more comments, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Frederick.
Well,
Is there any more?
Mr. Chairman, if you need a motion.
I will entertain a motion. Oh, Jody?
Don't forget to give the applicant the opportunity as one member short.
Thank you. We are 1 member short today, so we would still need a 4-member majority. Would you like to proceed? The applicant would like to proceed. Ms. Marty?
I think your public hearing is still open, unless I missed something.
Didn't we close it?
Did you close it?
Yeah.
Okay. A couple comments. Keep in mind, and the applicant might have some fast work to do. First of all, a rezoning, you can't condition a rezoning. It's either rezoned or not rezoned. So something that's got to be done before the township board approves the rezoning is, I would recommend they get a tentative land division approved. Don't finalize it until we see if the rezoning, but have it ready and on the hopper, ready to be approved. Also, the township board, if they approve a rezoning, they need to publish a legal description of the parcel that is rezoned in the newspaper within, it might be 15 days of the approval. So you have to have a legal description for the property that is being rezoned, ready and available to the township board. And if it's going to take you some time to get that, you don't want the township board to consider this rezoning until you have it, because they've got to have it and publish it in a newspaper within 15 days of their approval. So you maybe need to get some surveyors on board, if you haven't already, to get your legal descriptions for your land division, make a application for a tentative land division, have that tentatively approved, and get a legal description for the parcel that is being rezoned.
Thank you, Marty. Mr. Frederick?
When I did land divisions, that's what you had to have. You had to have a legal description before I would even look at the division. So I think you're absolutely correct, Counsel. Get some surveyors on board now so that they can have the description, because the board cannot move forward without the legal description in hand, as well as an understanding of the fact that land division has been preliminarily approved.
Thank you.
Well, Mr. Chairman, if you're looking for a motion, I move that the Planning Commission recommend to the Township Board that the parcel proposed to be part of the land division be rezoned from R3 single-family residential to C3 general commercial, subject to receiving preliminary approval of a land division and also receipt of a legal description of the parcel which is to be rezoned in its entirety.
I have a motion. Do I have support?
Support.
Does that work, Marty?
Support.
If you could take the roll.
Mr. Frederick?
Aye.
Steffen votes yes. Mr. Zybek?
Yes.
Mr. Jenkins?
Yes.
Mr. Fritz?
Yes.
Chairman Anger?
Yes. Motion approved.
Would that be fencing that it showed that? Yeah.
Next on the agenda, we have public comment. This is for anybody that would like to make a comment on anything.
I would just like to let the applicant know that we are sending this request up to Monroe County Planning. On October 10th is the next meeting they have on, it's a Wednesday at 7. So it will go to the county on October 10th and then come back to the Township Board. So I just wanted to let you know that we were trying to get it on for their October 10th meeting, so you can work with the surveyor on getting those legals.
Thank you, Jody. If there's no other public comment, we will move on to new information. Anything, Jody?
I don't know if we have anything scheduled for our October 10th meeting, but we do have a public hearing for October 26th.
Thank you. Any commission or staff comment? If not, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.